now in continuation with our discussion section of the manuscript, what we are discussing is what needs to be focused while writing in the discussion part and what are the common inadequacies when we write a discussion section. It's not that author is not sure about his findings, but it is the fact that some points are missed while writing the discussion section. For the first 3 points that we discussed is don't be too long or unfocused while writing the discussion section, don't selectively cite the favorable papers, you have to be balanced while citing the papers, it should be always a favorable paper and a non-favorable paper. The next is failure to interpret the results and place them in context, because we are unable to interpret the results properly and we just add the numbers in our discussion section. So, that is not appropriate. Then we go to the failure to reconcile the opposing findings of other. We have cited the unfavorable findings from the previous conducted research, but we actually didn't find any reason, or we were unable to write or find what were the reasons that my results are opposite to what previously has been done. So, that is very important. You have to understand why the opposite findings are there and you have to write. You have to tell your audience as well that why your results are opposite to what previously has been covered. So, this might be of different reasons. There might be some limitations in your studies, or there might be some different population, or there has been a lot of time gap when you conducted your research and the previously conducted research. So, that might have resulted. There might be some comorbidities in the patients that you have included, there might be an age difference, there might be a technology involvement. So, there might be multiple reasons why your findings are different from that were conducted previously. But you have to understand and you have to find and you have to write in your discussion section why your research findings are different or are opposing to that have been conducted previously. So, in continuation to the common inadequacies that has been found in writing the discussion section include offers no explanation of unexpected results. See, you conducted a research in 100 patients, but what happens that 98 or 97 patients are giving similar results, but 3 of them are not giving the similar results. It's not that you have to change your results of those 3 patients and manipulate those results and then report that all 100 patients were responding similarly. It's not like that. But if you found any deviation, then you have to write that why this deviation was observed. There might be some reason that the unexpected results were observed. There are another example of unexpected results is that all the previously conducted studies were different from what you have done. The methodology is similar, but the results that appeared in your results section is altogether different from that studies that were conducted previously. So, why those unexpected results have been observed, you have to give reasons for that. See, it's not that you are reporting what you have observed, it has to be linked to the previously conducted research and also a link between the results that you have obtained. 97 patients responded in one way, why 3 patients responded in a different way. Multiple previously conducted studies have given one type of result and your study particularly has given different kind of results. So, no study is favorable to your results. So, what are the reasons? Discussion section is the place where you have to provide reasons of all those things. So, provide an explanation of those unexpected results. You can't leave those results unattended. You have to give those reasons. See, for example, in a clinical study, there might be that 1 or 2 patients died during the study. Then you have to explain the reasons or give reasons why those patients died. They might be that those patients were having lot of comorbidities. That's why. Or their age was too high to tolerate a new drug or to expect any adverse event. So you have to write the reasons behind those things. Limitations not acknowledged and extrapolation. You assumed that your study is 100% correct, 100% complete, and there was no limitations. Leaving limitations or your weakness of the study into your manuscript is not acceptable. You have to write, you have to acknowledge, you have to accept that there are some kind of limitations when you conducted the study, or when you interpreted the study, or you when initiated the study. Mostly these limitations are part of your methodology section, but some limitations might be in your results or observations. So whatever the limitations may be in the study, you have to tell your audience. See, I told you earlier also that when you compare your studies with the previously conducted study, there might be some studies which are not in line with your study results. Then limitations come into play, that because this and this was the limitation due to which our study was not in line with the previously conducted study, or due to which there were some unexpected results that we observed. So you should be very clear, you should be very open, you should be very much acceptable to the things that there might be some weaknesses in your study that led to such kind of results, and that should be acknowledged into your discussion section as limitations or weakness. See, when we are talking about a clinical study, a new drug is being tested, then you should tell your audience, your physicians, your stakeholders, your policy makers, see, I conducted this study, I found this kind of result, but you should be cautious while implementing these results or making an implication of these results, because my study had this kind of limitations. See, this is not just telling about your audience, it is also a legal complication also, not telling your audience about the limitations of the study. In case your results suggested that drug is efficacious in patients with rheumatoid arthritis, and if any physician gave it to the patient, and patient was somehow more ill or died because of the treatment, then what will happen? It might lead to legal complications, because you have not told your physician or the physician who has implemented your results that these were the limitations of my study, these might cause problem to such kind of patients, or these are the weaknesses of my study. You should be open in accepting, because you are not someone who can complete, anybody cannot complete any research to its 100%, there are always limitations. So you should be open in telling your audience about the limitations of your study. Far exceeds the data in the results section. So whatever you have written in the results section, you are far exceeding those data and writing lot more about that data in your discussion section. I initially told you as well that you can't over interpret your results in the discussion section. Use words very specifically, use your results very judicially. Whatever results you have obtained, only interpret them in a very understandable words or very cautious words while writing the discussion section. Don't over interpret or inflate your result section into your discussion part. Then inadequate references. You have not cited properly, you have just used 1 or 2 citations just to write your discussion section and not provided sufficient references of the studies of the results that has been previously published. Discussion section of a manuscript has the maximum references in the overall manuscript. See, I will link this to the introduction section. In the introduction section, we found the gap. We found the gap in the research through studying the previously conducted studies, their weaknesses, and then we have taken that study for future requirements. We conducted those studies and referenced those studies in our introduction section, but we have not used their results in the introduction section that we have discussed earlier also. So now here what we are doing is we are using that data in our discussion section to compare our data with that particular thing. So the references, the previous discussion, previous comparison, either inline or against your results should be incorporated into the discussion section. So the referencing should be sufficient into your discussion section to link to the previously conducted study and connect to the audience as well. Audience should know that such kind of studies have been previously done, but the results were different. And why different? You should tell your limitations. So references should not be inadequate while discussing your results. So write framing sentences or using paragraph. So this is generally applicable to the overall manuscript. So when we are using paragraph, then one data or one theme per paragraph should be incorporated. Don't mix the different messages into one paragraph. It's always advisable that if you are talking about one particular topic or one particular theme or an idea, then one paragraph should be used for it. And while writing the paragraph, you should be very cautious that key points should be at the beginning or at the end of the paragraph, preferably at the beginning of the paragraph. It should not be that the reader or your audience have to search for the key points within the paragraph. It's always better to keep the key points at the beginning, right? Then linking words, however, therefore, but, none, such kind of words should be there so that a story can be built and creates an reading environment for your audience. If you are linking your sentences, that it means that you know that what first point means and what the second point is and how these two are linked. So linking words are always preferable, but it's not that you use them too much. So the limit should always be there, right? Avoid repeated one sentence paragraphs. One sentence paragraphs are nowhere acceptable or nowhere appreciated when writing a manuscript. See, if your theme is too short, if your discussion point is too short that you have to write one sentence paragraph, then you can at least connect two ideas into one paragraph and avoid having one sentence paragraph, right? Then what about the framing sentences? How to frame sentences while writing your manuscript? It may be the discussion section or the rest of the sections of your manuscript. The main points that you need to take care while framing your sentences include the sentences should be short and rewrite if more than 30 words or more than 4 punctuations are somehow coming into one particular sentence. It's very important to understand that more than 30 words, the sentence is too long to understand, to be understood by a audience or by a reader. See, what happens is that when we actually reach to about 25 sentences, we tend to forget what we have read in the first part of the sentence. So it's better to maintain a sentence length of 25 to 30 words at the max, and then we can rewrite the sentence in such a way that it breaks into two sentences by using the linking words. Here comes the use of linking words. So, thus, therefore, however, we can using these words and connect our two sentences rather than making one long sentence. If you are not clear about the counting of words, or it's becoming confusing that we always count the words for a particular sentence, so it's always preferable if it is going beyond 3 lines, then you should split that sentence and use shorter sentences, 2 shorter sentences rather than one bigger sentence. Check plurals and singulars. For example, data is, the word data doesn't generally doesn't tell anything about single. Data is always plural, maximum times plural. So you should be cautious while writing such words. Data, fish is always, I mean, for singular also, for plural also, fish is the term that we use. So you have to be mindful while using such kind of words where is, am, are, or was, were, has been, had been, have been, what to use, how to write such kind of words. So think about those kind of words. Data is the one word that always people, not always but maximum times people make a mistake while using the word data. So consistent use of tenses, active voice, tenses should be like, if you are if you have started writing about past tense, so continue with the past tense. If you are writing in, reviews are generally written in present tense, but there are some places where you are discussing about the previously conducted study, so it might have the past tense, but you have to be consistent while writing your interpretations, right? For example, result section of an article, of a research article, it's always present, right? This is observed, this is how it is taken further, the CR is itna, the CR observed is itna. So you have to be consistent with the use of the words. Active voice is always preferable. I conducted this study, or the study was conducted by me. So active voice is always preferable while framing the sentences, unless and otherwise being mentioned by the submission guidelines or the author guidelines given by the journal. So avoid glitches. The vast majority at the present time. So vast majority. So it is always blue in color. So blue is always there. The month of January. Hana? So it is like you don't have to write. You can just write in January. Majority of the people at present. So you can avoid extra words and the confusion to the reader. So it's very clear, you can create shorter sentences by avoiding such kind of duplicating words, right? That was blue, right? So you can use such kind of words and make them sentences shorter and easier for the reader to continue. So now let's see that original content was about 26 words and how we can avoid unnecessary words in this particular sentence. This is just for an example for you to understand how we can make a shorter sentence of this. In this study too, it was noted that there was a decline in neurocognitive function at the time of disease progression in both the groups of patients. So this is too long, 26 words. By the end I reached, when I reached at the end of the sentence, I actually forgot what I was discussing. Then I have to go again to the initial part of the sentence where I was looking that I am talking about decline in neurocognitive function. So what are the unnecessary words that we can avoid? In this study too, it was noted that there was, so this is an unnecessary word that we can avoid. If we are talking about neurocognitive function, we are talking about, because it is a continuation or it is a part of a manuscript, so we know that it is talking about the patient. So progression in both the groups, that is perfect to be included, because we already know that we are talking about some kind of patients. So what happens that we reach to 15 words, which is much more clearer than what we had initially. This study also showed a decline in neurocognitive function after disease progression in both the groups. Just a shorter sentence with only 15 words, we were able to delete 11 words from one single sentence. It also helps to maintain my word count limit that the journal has specified, and also it makes my reader more interested or making my reader more aware of what I am trying to talk about, rather than he has to find the key things from my sentence. So there are two things that we actually achieve from this kind of reduction of unnecessary words. One is the word count limitation adherence, and the second is linking to my audience and making him understand the key message in a easier way. He doesn't have to struggle to find actually what he is looking for. So just a brief review of what we have understood so far, or what we have studied so far, is abstract. The check what we want to write, what kind of abstract we want to have, or what the journal or the conference is looking for, whether a structured or an unstructured style. Use abbreviations sparingly and logically. So that we have discussed earlier also, abstracts are not a place actually to use the abbreviations. Don't include anything not in the main text. See, this is the point that we have to maintain all over the manuscript. We can't introduce anything new that we have not discussed or we have not included in our methodology section. So, abstract, results, discussion, everywhere we have to take care of such kind of things. Avoid conclusion creep, that we have discussed in the conclusion section, discussion section also, and make every word count and don't use unnecessary words. And also, it's not just that we have to avoid unnecessary words, but we have to include the necessary words also. It's not that we stop using is, am, are, or the where it is necessary, or the punctuation marks where it is necessary. We have to include all those things that are important, but we should avoid some things which make the sentence extraordinarily long where it was not necessary. Double check after making the changes in the main text. Sometimes abstract is one thing that we write at the end of completing the manuscript structure, but if in any case you receive some comments from the reviewer or something like that, then or you yourself feel that there are some changes that were required while reading the paper, then you should make all those changes that are necessary to be incorporated into your abstract section as well. Don't miss out. Sometimes what happen that you double check the data and you find something that you have included into your result section was not correct, then you change that data, change those interpretations into your discussion section, but you forget to change that in the abstract section. So, that is very important that you double check after making any changes in the main text. So, the title should be simple and concise, but informative, interesting and eye catching. So, these kind of titles are actually which attract your audience to read the full text. On the other side, it should be accurate and specific to the topic that you are actually discussing, and the main keyword should be included into your title. You should not miss any main key point from your title. For example, if we are talking about drug A versus drug B, then you can't miss for which disease you are talking about. So, that is very important. For example, if you are studying linguistics and socioculture aspects in depression, then you can't miss linguistic aspect or socioculture aspect. You have to include both these aspects and then depression. So, these are the three keywords for that particular study. So, you have to include all those things into your title. Stating the subject in full. So, again your title should be complete in itself by writing all the keywords. Indicative of study design, then animal species, animal, patient, whatever you have included, then you have to include that. Study design is also very important. If you have conducted a randomized control trial, if you have conducted an observative trial, then if you have conducted the systematic review or it is a narrative review. So, you should be specific in indicating what kind of study design you have included while doing your study. Then obviously, for all the sections including the title of your paper, you should be grammatically correct. You should not avoid any such term which was necessary, but due to word count you have excluded that. Title and the abstract are the one things where you avoid any kind of abbreviations or exclamatory titles. You do not write abbreviations in your titles, right. This might be all a reader ever reads. So, title is the one thing where you can actually make your reader force, or you can force your reader to actually read the complete paper or attract your reader to read the complete paper. So, sometimes what happens, your title is not complete, the audience is not attracted or they do not understand what you are telling from your title or what you have done. So, the reader might not read the complete paper. Further, when you conduct a systematic review, the keywords from the titles are picked up for indexing. So, if you have not completed the title, you have not included each and every aspect, every keyword that was necessary to tell about your study, then the indexing might fail. So, it might not be included into your systematic review. So, each and every section of a manuscript should be written in such a way that it keeps your reader connected with your paper, right. So, titles, your first chance to make an impression. So, you have to be, it should not be very sensational kind of thing, but you can make it interesting. You can make a descriptive title, or the title may be declarative. We have discussed in earlier slides about the descriptive and the declarative titles, where you can tell about your study results in a declarative title, where, or you can have a descriptive title where you can tell about what kind of study you have done. So, this is how you can create your titles for your manuscript. So, include what is unique or important about your study that will help your audience to be connected with you, and include your major finding in declarative title. So, you can include your major finding in your declarative title, so that if it is a very new research that you have conducted, it will help the audience to be attracted towards your publication. So, additional consideration, you have to include all the references that you have referred into your paper, and the referencing style should be followed as the journal has mentioned about. The journal guidelines tell you about the type of referencing style that you have used, either APA, MLA, or their particular style they have created, Chicago, anything. So, you have to write those references in those particular formats. Then you also have to include the acknowledgements and the contributions, because you can't do any research mostly in silos. So, multiple peoples might be there around you who have helped you in completing the study, but can't be authors because of their level of inclusion in your study. So, they might be included in your acknowledgements or contribution section, and any conflict of interest should be disclosed in the publication before completing the manuscript. So, select only references pertinent to the study that we have already discussed, and it is a good idea to use a software for updating any of the referencing. So, Refman, EndNote, any of these can be used, and referencing style should be followed as instruction to the authors, and respect the number of references accepted by the journal. There might be some limit that you have to follow while listing the references in your paper. Acknowledgements that we have already discussed, and conflict of interest may be personal, political, academic, financial, but what kind of conflicts are there, you have to be clear. So, unoriginal research might be rejected, research analysis poorly conducted may be rejected, results that do not support conclusions that we have discussed earlier also can be rejected, poorly written paper can be rejected, manuscript that does not comply with the instructions to authors I mentioned can be rejected, and significant conflict of interest might get rejected. So, never submit to more than one journal is very important, and be transparent about the linked papers. Then register all the trials and include study identifier. So, submit the protocol for review if they want. So, publish all the findings and not just the positive, as we discussed that positive and negative findings are important to be discussed. Follow authorship guidelines and follow instructions to the authors. So, this is again what we have discussed. Then every manuscript writing techniques identify the target audience, the appropriate journal, applicable reporting guidelines, and the style. But ultimately the end point is keep it simple. Writing and language are accessories. It is the quality of the science that matters actually. Thank you.